Ciao ragazzi, and welcome to another edition of Serie, Sitdown, World Football Index's podcast of Calcio Told Like It Is. Frank Crivello and Richard Carmen along for the ride as always. Ciao, Richard.
Ciao, Frank. How are we doing this evening?
We're doing good, man. We're doing good. I get to another podcast where we could get to talk about a Milan win again. I mean, that's called a winning streak.
Winning streak. It's been a long time since we could say that, man. It's,
two straight.
One of the best teams looking out of the coming out of the break. So.
Yeah. Last time we did this live, we had the I just had the Rat Pack behind me. I decided to give it some company in the form of my Ibra Milan jersey, and then the other jersey, which you wrongly said before we went on the air, that is not an Inter jersey. Why would I do that to my wall?
In this light, it kind of looks like black and blue, but hey, I'm glad it's Zurich because I would have had to cut you out of this podcast.
It is the Kappa Italian national team jersey from 2000 from the Euros. So, and I believe they wore that as well in 2002. So there you go. What year is that from?
2010.
Okay.
2014. I forget.
Yep. Puma came around after Kappa, so makes sense. But I am supporting Lakefront Brewery in Milwaukee, Wisconsin today. I'm having their Lakefront Brewery lager, extra premium quality and other fine words. It says that on the can. So
I'm supporting the Sanitation Commission, I guess, with my coffee. I don't know, with the water.
I'm glad you could openly say that and share that with everybody. You've given everyone such a lovely visual tonight.
I know.
Appreciate that. So here's what we're going to cover. First of all, we're recording this on Tuesday night, and the title contenders were in action today. So we're going to break down their games in depth. And then we are going to batch a crazy match week that took place from Friday through Sunday. 40 goals, Richard.
Wow, we're back. The goals are back, huh?
Yeah, they are. They definitely are. And we had another 7 today.
Look, that's 47 goals in how many days now? It's almost games. Too many goals. It's almost too many goals for just you and I to talk about, huh?
Yeah, we probably should get some help, and I'm glad that we summoned some help here for this edition of the Serie Sit Down. Let's bring in our guest tonight, a rising sports journalist at Bradley University in Peoria, Illinois, earning his first cap with the Serie Sit Down. We say benvenuto to Miguel AJ. Hi, Miguel.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard, and why don't we start with how your love affair for Calcio? I see you're wearing the appropriate colors. We could be the Milan Weekly Pod post-game show today if we really wanted to do it.
We could. But
I think Stevie and Vinny do a good enough job. They're a hard act to follow. I think we'll just cover the whole league tonight. So Miguel, take it away, man. What brought you into Calcio? What brought you into support from Milan, and what got you to following the football on the peninsula?
Okay, so it's actually quite a funny story. Growing up, I used to watch football a lot with my family. I can remember 2006 World Cup where Brazil did really good. I can also recall the 2010 World Cup where my native nation, Ghana, almost went to the semifinals, but got knocked out by Uruguay, which would have been, record-breaking history for an African team. But it wasn't until after that World Cup where I was like, oh, I need to find a club to support, because I was watching the World Cup and I was like, soccer isn't just a World Cup. There's leagues, So I had FIFA 10 and I was scrolling through the teams, and something about me just appealed to Italy. So I went to Italy, and this was back then when they had like Catania and Bari in the league. But I came across the badge of Milan and it just caught my eye. The red and black just did something to me. So I picked Milan. That was back then when they had Ronaldinho, Beckham, Pirlo, you name it. That was the dynasty team. So I said to myself, Miguel, you're going to support Milan. And that was it. And then I was there for the Scudetto. And then now we're in the banter era. But through it all, I've been loyal.
You got to see a trophy get lifted, though, at least.
That's
true.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. So welcome aboard. I won't Richard, I could say something very, very easy here and blame Miguel for maybe being part of the reason why Milan have entered banter era, new fans coming in and jumping on the bandwagon and making it a little hard for that thing to move. And
the fact that he's sticking through the banter era says a lot about him and his true allegiance. So it must have been his faith, the faith that he is a Milanisti.
The devotion is much appreciated.
Absolutely.
So
thank you.
You have suffered through the likes of Kevin Constant and
oh my God, let's not even talk about him.
Ricardo Montalivo as a captain that would get signed to an extension, but we can't. Galliani doesn't want to keep Pirlo around, and some of the most still think this crazy belief that Fernando Torres could actually still play.
Hey, at least he's working. You might give him a heart attack, right?
Yeah. So we could go on.
Honda calling Milan, telling them that if they need him, they know where to find him.
Yeah.
Michael Lisi's checking in with us. Ciao, Michael. He thought the same thing, Richard. I almost fainted. What did he think? What was he thinking about? What did I miss?
The jersey behind you. He thought it was Nerazzurri.
Oh, okay. All right. Nope. It's a 2000 Italy Kappa. It was like kind of the really tight jersey. My body shape, I don't try to wear that anymore. So it's much more attractive on a wall than it is on me. I can promise you that. So.
Shows off the rails already.
Yeah, it is. So let's start with today's action. We had the contenders in action to open up match week 29. We're going to get through match week 28. My gosh. The goals itself can cover an entire podcast. But let's talk about what went down match week 29. Lazio opened things up by traveling to Torino. A game that I found to be an interesting one, gentlemen, just because you have, both of them on a quick turnaround. They both played Saturday. Torino, having to make the trip back from Sardinia where it was awfully hot, awfully muggy, and they had to, withstand getting beaten 4-2. Lazio, arguably, you could say, escaped with 3 points against Fiorentina, and we'll talk about those games. So an interesting dynamic here, and especially with Torino playing relatively well at home, especially since things opened up again. They did get that draw against Parma. They beat Udinese. You've got Lazio, who, all right, what did we really get? And are they going to be able to? Are they going to be able to step up and beat a Torino team here now? Let's look at the lineups there. Serie was in goal. It was a back three of Lianco and Kulu and Bremer. Di Silvestri and Ola Aina were the wingbacks with Swalihu Mete, Thomas Rincon, and Sasa Lukic in midfield. Simone Verdi getting a start up front with Andrea Belotti. So clearly the effects of what happened in Sardinia was on Coach Longo's mind, Richard, because Berenghar's out, Edera's out. Both of them were playing relatively well in the games prior. And this looked like it was a team that was set up to figure out, okay, Verdi will pull a lot of the strings, and hope that we can get a lot out of him. And if we can't get it from him, we'll get it from the wing backs. We'll get it from Di Silvestri. We'll get it from Aina, especially with the work rate that he offers on the left-hand side. And hopefully Belotti's on the end of all of this, finishing at least a couple. And that's, to me, the way it looked like they set out to play Lazio, Richard.
Yeah, it really did. And it looked like, a team that had not only had a game after a few days, but the poor performance against Cagliari, like you mentioned, the manager had to change things up and bring in some fresh bodies that maybe had a little bit more hunger in it. Obviously, the captain's going to remain in it, Belotti, but I think your description of having Verdi in there and some of those guys that they inserted to the lineup were inserted for a reason, and hopefully hoping that they would be able to get a couple goals on Lazio, especially by Belotti. He is their pouncer who gets all the opportunities there, and so. I had the exact same impression when I saw that lineup by Torino.
Yep. And Miguel, we're talking about Lazio countering with pretty much only one change, and that was to their back three. They brought in Radu to start the game. But it was Strakoja, and then across the back was Patrick, Acerbi, and Radu. Lazzari and Joni get their start on the wings again, and then it was the same midfield three, Luis Alberto, Marco Parolo, Sergej Milinkovic-Savic, and then you have Caicedo and Immobile. And a lot of this is because Lazio is relatively shorthanded with injuries. It left me feeling like Okay, Torino has the ability to change a little bit here and still look decent. Lazio's going with the same guys. Let's see what kind of legs they have, especially this being their third game in less than a week. Were you concerned about Lazio maybe going relatively unchanged coming into this one?
Yeah, I mean, I was concerned. Lazio is a team that doesn't have that much depth. They like to play with the core players that they have in Barolo, Luis Alberto, Milinkovic Savic, Caicedo, Immobile. Like, that is the core for their team. As to the injuries, injuries happen. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. But I think that because they don't have that depth, they're being forced to play their star players, and it's coming back to bite them. Caicedo and Immobile both got yellow cards today against Torino, and they'll be suspended against their next game in Milan, which can potentially shift the race for the Scudetto.
Was particularly surprising. I would have thought, and I get what Johnny can bring to the table for Lazio. I thought maybe this is one where you played Jordan Lukaku from the start, especially with Di Silvestri on the other side, his ability to come forward and cross. Lukaku's got a little more rangy, a little bit more athletic, and certainly will defend better than Johnny and can deal with that a little bit. And you maybe nullify that with what Torino bring going forward on that flank. But ultimately, you can take your chances on being successful in some of these other areas with the midfield, with the playmaking of Luis Alberto, with what Milinkovic Savic can do, with what Lazzari can do on the right. So it was it was an interesting one for me that they went relatively unchanged. It would be Torino that would get off to a successful start, not even 5 minutes into the game. And Kolu goes for the acrobatic, and it strikes Immobile's hand. They give a penalty. They give Immobile a yellow.
Yeah.
Here's my take, and I'll turn it to you guys as far as the actual infraction. Penalty, fine. Yeah, it was a handball. Yellow card, that was harsh.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree with that too. I think he certainly had the intention of trying to block the shot and get in the way and maybe knock over the attacker, but a yellow is a little bit harsh. I think it's just like, hey, you committed a foul. Oh, by the way, here's a yellow too for your troubles. How'd you feel, Miguel, on that?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you guys. I think that the yellow card was a bit harsh, knowing that Immobile is also on this yellow card streak, which led to his suspension. I feel like some of the yellow cards that were given to some of the Lazio players in today's games were unnecessary. But again, like, sometimes the referee sees things from a certain angle and it looks different. But I don't understand, like, why we have VAR and, the VAR people can't check and be like, hey, ref, that wasn't a yellow card. Like, we don't see any intent in that. They could have easily been like, Immobile's yellow card is revoked, but they didn't do that. So it was harsh.
And we do have Michael in the chat, who's our resident referee, so I'd like his input if he is hearing this. I don't think VAR can overturn yellow cards. I think they can overturn. They're there to overturn red cards. But Michael can probably confirm that for me. But yeah, there was an intent there. It hit his hand. If anything, it was going to be awfully difficult for him to try to get it out of the way. But nonetheless, Andrea Belotti makes no mistake. Miguel bags the penalty. I think it goes a long way when you're keeping. He had a penalty saved against Parma by Sepe. And I think that it says a lot about a manager when he's going to be able to keep his confidence in a star man in that situation and say, hey, I've got faith in you. You'll get this one. Go ahead and take it. And really, I think it's also coupled with the fact that I don't think there's Verdi might be able to take one, but after that, I wouldn't have a lot of confidence in anybody else out there.
What, no Zaza?
What's that? Well, Zaza wasn't in the game. Otherwise, I'd have been like, man, you got to let him take it after Belotti missed against Parma. But cool penalty, and Torino's up 1-0, and this probably plays into their strategy for the game.
Yeah.
So the rest of the first half, guys, I felt like Lazio had the ball more than 53% of the time. Do you?
I agree.
Yeah, I do
I
too.
totally agree.
I think it's a little bit of the eyes playing tricks on you. Maybe
Yeah.
that it seemed that a lot of opportunities are going for Lazio, but it also seems like Lazio have been shooting themselves in the foot as of late. They're making things. I was talking to Miguel before the podcast, and I think they're making things a little bit more difficult than they have to, and they're forced to come back in games. They can do it, sure, and that's why maybe they'll get more possession, or at least it looks like there's more possession because they're attacking more, getting more opportunities on net, but. Unnecessarily making it difficult on themselves by going down early in games. We didn't see that early in the season with them, and all of a sudden now they're giving up goals early in games and forcing themselves to come back, with the exception of the Atalanta game.
And we thought that, and the Caicedo yellow, we found that to be harsh as well, didn't we? And now we're talking about, as you mentioned, Miguel, Ciro Immobile and Felipe Caicedo will be suspended for the match at home against Milan this weekend. That's a lot to ask. Without both of those guys available up front, you're probably going to have Luis Alberto moving up a little bit, and then partnering with Joaquin Correa.
Yeah.
Because I'm just trying to get the guy's last name. Hang in there with me. Bobby Adekanye. That's his name.
Yeah.
He's still out, so that would have been your only other option. So you're going to see a lot of. You're not going to see a real target presence for Lazio, and it's going to, Simone Inzaghi's going to have to get pretty creative with how he's going to be able to navigate through that game against Milan this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one for them, but I think that with the amount of experience that Lazio has in that squad, I feel like they can be able to pull something together and not look too bad against Milan. Again, Lazio came into the season just aiming for Champions League, and now they're Scudetto contenders. So I feel like they also play with that mentality, like, hey, like, we're not here to win a Scudetto, but if we can try, we will.
My question to you guys: do you think, with the strikers that are out, there's 3 strikers that are out of this game, really leaving one. Do you think Inzaghi at all deviates from his tactics? He loves this formation that he uses. But do you think it's time to actually change something else and maybe have one striker up top and overload that midfield or something? What do you guys think?
I don't think so. I mean, he's indebted in that system.
Yeah.
And I think that I think it would be worse for Lazio if he tries to do something different in terms of a formation. I think he's just going to stick to a 3-5-2 of some sort and just take his chances. With Correa being successful up front and being able to do some things. It's probably going to change how they're going to set up tactically. I could see them allowing Milan to have more of the ball and then see if they can counter off of that. But we'll certainly have to see. So we got some feedback here from Michael here. I think some refs just automatically give a yellow on a hand in the box. It's nowhere in the rules or anything. I don't think there was any intent whatsoever. No yellow in his opinion. As we said, there was no yellow there. I can't think of an instance where a yellow was rescinded. But that doesn't mean it didn't happen. Perhaps if he played for Juve, ...
Sing.
Martino Puccio checking in with us from the State of Play pod. Martino, ciao. Welcome.
Welcome, sir.
So let's see. So it was 1-0 at halftime in favor of Torino. Really, like I said, I mean, I go back and I look at these stats, and I'm shocked that Lazio had only 53% of the possession. I could have swore they had more. They obviously didn't carve out a lot of quality chances. I know they had the Acerbi goal that was ruled offside, which was a good call. Immobile had a couple of great chances that on other occasions you see him finish those. He blasted both of them over the bar.
Yeah.
Little bit worrying that Lazio hadn't broken down Torino, but at the same time, I think Torino kept it all in front of them and didn't really give anything crazy away. Miguel, what do you think of Torino defensively in the first half?
I think that in the first half, Torino did a really good job defensively. Getting that early goal, I think it gave them a boost, a mental edge against Lazio. The previous game where they lost 4-2, you could see that the defense just kind of dismantled mid-game. They were okay, and then they just started to pull away, and it turned from worse into worse. So I think in the first half, they really controlled the game. Like, they were really making it hard for Lazio to create anything. But after that first half, it just went to hell. Like, I don't know if they got tired or what it was, but they started to just let Lazio control the game. They gave them possession, and Lazio kept fighting. They kept fighting to the end.
Yep.
I'm actually shocked at the way Torino came out there in a good way. After the result against Cagliari, I fully expected Torino to, just let Lazio do whatever they want in the first half, and then they try to soak up all the pressure. And they got the early goal. That helps. That always helps. But I thought, I agree with Miguel. That was a good tactic by Torino, and they executed it fairly well in that first half.
Yeah, they did, and they created some chances going forward. Nothing incredibly dangerous. I mean, on the whole of the game, I thought we'd get a hell of a lot more out of Lorenzo Di Silvestri than we did. I thought he was terrible.
Yeah.
And I thought Aina underperformed. I mean, I think he was hard. I think he worked hard. But there wasn't a whole lot of style to what he did. So I thought that Torino had a chance to have an edge in those positions. And it didn't come through for them. Di Silvestri was worse than Aina, in my opinion, in those spots. But in the second half, they would get their goal, Lazio, to level the match. That fabulous, well-known connection that they have, Luis Alberto finding Ciro Immobile, and Ciro Immobile putting it home, 1-1. Miguel, I don't know if you've been following us all season, but way back in the preseason, I picked Ciro Immobile to be Capocannoniere, and here we are.
Yeah. I remember that. I feel like Immobile is very underappreciated. He's very slept on. The guy has Serie A experience. You saw how he blew up that one season in Torino, and that's what got him a move away from Italy. But when he moved away from Italy, he struggled. Then he came back, and he's been able to score 20 plus goals every season. So. You can't underappreciate that. Like, look at Milan. Like, we don't have a striker that can score 20 goals a season, and it hurts us.
Right. Richard, that man Immobile again.
Yeah, and he's continued to do what he has been doing in the league, like Miguel said, and he just scores goals. He bangs them in, and he can do it a variety of different ways. And he had two great opportunities early in the first half where he shot him over the bar. But yeah, he was there, right place, right time. And as always, when he scores, you give us our frequent reminders about who picked the Capocannoniere and him, who picked him. That's. I
think I tweeted out after every time he scores.
Yeah.
I never miss a moment.
Yep. So we see those tweets a lot this year and the last year because he scores a lot. So.
Yep. So he's, he scored against Fiorentina. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but we'll go to the Immobile tracker. He's got 29 on the season. It's a pretty easy track to make. He's averaging a goal per game, so he's on pace for 38, which would break Gonzalo Higuain's record. There was a point earlier in the season where he was on pace for like 44 or something ridiculous like that. So
the break hurt him, I think. The break hurt him for sure.
Yeah,
it did. Before that,
It was just nice to see him score on the run of play. I mean, I thought in the Fiorentina game he struggled. And and then it took the penalty for him to come alive and get into the game a little bit more. Here he was active. He put a couple over the bar. He did like I said, I think you see him finish at least one of those, and we're talking about being 1-1 at halftime. But in this case, he took his chance and he took it well. And I mean, Lazio owned the second half, guys. The possession was still relatively flat, but many more chances going to Simone Inzaghi's men. And the winner would come from the unlikeliest of sources, Miguel, Marco Parolo, putting Lazio ahead 2-1. Really just an opportunistic finish from him.
Yeah, I've seen this a lot from Lazio. When they are either a goal down or they're tied, they seem to manage to find a way to just strike the ball into the net. As you can see, like from the play that occurred, like Immobile was about to try to take a shot, and he jumped out the way, and Parolo shot, and they took the deflection, and Sirigo was in the middle of the net, and he really couldn't move at that moment, and it went to the net, and it worked in their favor.
Yep.
I think deflection when a goal for a goalie, that's got to be the most difficult play because you're fully committed to go one direction and try to stop the ball. It deflects, and you're helpless. What can you do?
Yep. After 45 minutes, I was ready to make. After the first 45 minutes, I was ready to make Luis Alberto a flop. But boy, I mean the goal and the assist on Ciro Immobile, and I thought the second half, I thought he was outstanding, and he went from being somebody that you only noticed he was out there when he was on a set piece to the second half. He took control of the game, and I think that paid big dividends for Lazio. What did you guys think?
I'll let the guest go first.
I agree. Luis Alberto has really shown his quality this season. We know from previous seasons that he's really good off set pieces. He's a great distributor, but as you can see, the partnership and the chemistry that he has with Immobile is really something special. If you watch the game, you could see how Immobile would get the ball and he'd pass it immediately to Alberto, and you'd see Immobile sprinting down the wing, getting in the right position, just waiting for a pass. Yeah. And I think that this is like really the beauty of Lazio, because that was not really expected this season. You know, people just thought, oh, it's Lazio, you know, maybe they'll get fifth, maybe they'll get fourth. But they really come out to show that the chemistry that they have within their squad is really what's taken them this far this season.
Definitely. The midfield as a whole was very good here, guys. I thought obviously Parolo getting the goal, he came through. I thought Sergei did a very nice job too. I thought it was a very good. I thought he struggled against Fiorentina, but he found a lot more space and operated a lot better in this game. So, you know, those guys came through, and I thought they got a good game out of Manuel Lozati. He's another one that for me struggled against Fiorentina, but came up big. He kept pumping crosses in on the right-hand side, kept getting forward, and was an extra threat. And when you've got somebody operating and doing that on a flank, that makes it, especially in a 3-5-2, that starts giving a little more freedom to guys like Sergei and Luis Alberto in the midfield. Now they can do their thing a little bit. They've got a little more room to work with, because you're able to get that position on that side, and you're able to be a threat with your crosses. And you know, Lozati didn't hit anything, but just the fact that he was there, I think, gave Torino some trouble. You know, on the other side, you know, Belotti getting the goal, and I know our friend Michael Lisi, who's with us, said Belotti's got to get out of there. The time is he's too good for that team.
Yeah,
I get it.
Cairo let him though. You know, last time they tried to leave, they put a tag of like 80 million euros on him.
Yeah, he was trying to go to United.
Yeah, so it's not going to come cheap, no matter if if he wants to leave. So I mean, he's a captain now. I mean, I don't know. He should go. I agree. He should go to a better club, but it's going to be awfully hard with Cairo.
Pick a team in Serie A where you think it works perfectly if Belotti were to move on from Torino. I mean, we can easily say our team.
Yeah.
Okay, but you know, because you got Rebic isn't really a striker. Ibra's not going to be there forever, obviously. So that's an obvious one. But I think Roma would be excellent for him in that setup.
Dzeko's not going to last forever,
right?
And he can do all the things that Dzeko does and a little bit more. He's very well rounded. He's probably we've talked about this before, between him and the comparison between him and Immobile, and how we think Belotti is actually more well rounded than Immobile is, and his talent, his skill set would come out in that Roma lineup. I think with all I know Jerry Mancini and the rest of the Laziali would probably hate us saying that going to their rivals, but I think if it's nicely there with the youngsters there, and you know, he can run too, and it would fit, I think, the best out of anybody, maybe outside of Milan.
Sure. Disappointed with Simone Verdi, and he exited pretty early. Like I said, I thought the wing backs for Torino struggled. And then the midfield, as the game wore on, just got outplayed by Lazio's midfield. You know, cut and dry. I mean, I think that we'll talk about what happened with Lazio in the win over Fiorentina, and that maybe they escaped with 3 points here. But I think in this case, these are 3 deserved points going to Torino and getting the win like this. So, and they, for a fleeting moment, are back to a point behind Juve. Richard.
Yeah, very.
Genoa and Juventus met at the Marassi. Why don't you break that one down for us? Yeah,
it was an interesting game. You know, many people thought, many wondered if Genoa could, you know, take a point away from Juventus, give Lazio that hope that they need so much. Because let's be honest, if Lazio wins out all the way out, it still doesn't matter. They need Juventus to drop points here and there. So They were hoping that maybe Genoa could do that. It did not happen, though, in this game. This was the Juventus show. Let's look at the lineups real quick in this game because it's pretty standard, mostly for Juve. But let's look at it real quick. In net, obviously, Szczesny's going to be in goal. In the defense, you had Cuadrado, De Ligt, Bonucci, and Danilo. In the midfield, you had Bentancur, Pjanic, and Rabiot. And then up top, you had Bernardeschi, Dybala, and Ronaldo. Miguel, fairly standard lineup for Juventus. Nothing there shocked me. How did you feel looking at that lineup going into this game against Genoa?
Yeah, I don't think anything in that lineup really shocked me. I think right now we know that Dybala and Ronaldo are probably Juve's two best players. They always seem to find a way to step up and get the job done. Ronaldo with the assists, Dybala with the goals. De Ligt he's really made a turn from the beginning of the season where he made so many mistakes, but now he seems like he's more disciplined and he really knows what he's doing in the back line. As for the rest of the players, they know their roles. Some of them get swapped out every now and then in the lineup, so nothing really surprised me there.
Yeah, it was a fairly standard lineup, I thought. But then, speaking of standard lineups, let's go to the Genoese side because Frank Mattia Peren's going to be in goal, which is the obvious there. But their defense wasn't that great. You had Romero, Somaro, Masiello. Then you had Giglione, Barami, Shone, Sturaro, Mr. $25 million man here, Casata, Pinamonte, and Favilli. That lineup wasn't while the attacking end maybe could provide something. That the defense was lacking in it, and it showed big time in this game.
I said on Twitter, I could probably put down 3 training cones and they could defend better than that Genoa back 3. But I mean, and we talked about this last week, Richard. Who on this Genoa team scares you? Okay.
Monty, that's a little,
Apparently they scared Brescia because they came back and tied them. But I mean,
what's Brescia?
You've got a Juventus connection with this team too. You got Pjanic in goal, you've got Sturaro, and then you've got Pinamonte and Favilli. And then I believe Romero is on loan at Genoa, owned by Juventus and on loan at Genoa, if I'm not mistaken. So it was kind of almost like Juventus against their B team. Is basically the way you could look at this game. But a good opportunity for at least for those 5 players to audition to prove that they belong in the full squad for next season. So a great opportunity for all of them. Perin is probably too good. Michael just asked, dare I say Belotti underneath Lukaku if Lautaro moves on? No, don't say it. Don't say it because it wouldn't work.
That's right. Nothing there would work.
So, and I think I can't remember who said it on Twitter, but they said that Andrea Pinamonte is auditioning. Well, you had 5 guys there auditioning in hopes of being able to be full-time at Juventus. I believe that Romero got sold to Genoa. I can't confirm that or any of that. Sturaro is there permanently too, but you look at this and you're just like, well, if Juve can't score on these guys, then they really have a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you say that, but it went into halftime 0-0. Yeah. Genoa was surprisingly keeping Juve, albeit maybe not all their fault. It's probably more than Juventus missing in Perin, making some saves here and there. But 0-0 into halftime, and it was giving some Laziale hope, some anti-Juve fans hope that maybe a draw would be in the makings of this. To have that little hope and then get it all taken away. What we had here in the second half is just every Juventus player pretty much one-upping themselves. First in the 50th minute, Paulo Dybala with a great goal. Followed it up just 6 minutes later. Cristiano Ronaldo, he says, "Wait, okay, I see what you did. Here's my goal." And then top it all off in the 73rd minute, Douglas Costa with a sensational left-footed shot. Three good goals, gentlemen. It's hard to say that Genoa did get a consolation goal through Pinamonti, but this is all about Juventus. They gave people some hope, just for a half or a little bit over that, but They proved against Genoa that they can score goals when they need to. They can make a statement when they have to. And of those 3 goals, Frank, which of those 3 were your favorites?
Oh, I mean, they're all great. I'm going to go with Douglas Costa's goal. I thought the degree of difficulty on that was
the bend. I mean,
yeah. Dybala, once he got into that space, you knew what the result was going to be.
Yeah.
It was still, relatively poor defending from Genoa to allow him to get into that space. Masiello is probably the most responsible there. And then on the Ronaldo goal, how much more does the back 3 need to drop off? Right?
So
I mean, and listen, I'm going to give Ronaldo credit. That was a hell of a finish. Okay, that was a hell of a finish.
Of course.
But Swamwaro has to know that Masiello is coming over to give him an angle, to give him a supporting angle, and he's got to step up, and he never does, and he allows Ronaldo a chance to prepare the ball and strike it. So you got 2 defenders that, and granted, I don't think they've had a lot of games together, so they're clearly not on the same page. And I thought it was, I mean, you got 3 guys back there. If you throw Romero into this mix, and you really can't blame Romero for any of this because nothing happened on his side of that back 3, but you got 3 guys here that maybe on their own they're all good individually, but as a unit they're poor. And does my tune change about Juventus's struggles in attack after scoring 4 against Lecce and scoring 3 against Genoa? Well, they scored 4 against Milan, scored 4 against Lecce, 11v11. Okay, yeah. Juve scored 4. Lecce had to get down to 10 men before Juve started scoring, and it took Lecce making an awful mistake playing out of the back to get the scoring started. So you got to kind of start breaking down where some of this stuff is going on. Genoa, this is goals third game back, and this is goals 7, 8, and 9 that they've given up since coming back.
And honestly, there would have been a lot more goals for Juventus if it wasn't for Mattia Perin. He had 6 saves in this game alone.
Yeah.
He was a big reason why this game wasn't 10-0. Juventus, put shot after shot, and he just came up big for them, and they still lost 3-0. He's probably the only guy you can't blame on that team for playing poor.
Right.
Every other player, especially that defense, they were horrific. Yeah,
they were. I thought Pinamonti obviously took his chance really well.
Yeah.
And I thought Scherner was okay, but he's another guy that you left Ajax for that. You just scratch your head. So he has to be getting – Preziosi has to be giving him a lot of money that we don't know about.
Yeah. Promising him pitania, pasta, You get all if you want all the wine you want if you come here.
Oh, my.
Well, that game ended 3-1, and Juventus cemented their 4-point lead, continued 4-point lead over Lazio in this one. And I know many people are starting to wonder if the Scudetto race is over. I don't think so. Frank and I have talked about this several times throughout the year. Miguel, I'm wondering, what are your thoughts about the Scudetto race? Do you think that it is over with the 4-point lead? Do you think Lazio still has an opportunity? Do you think maybe Inter or Atalanta have an outside chance? What are your thoughts on the whole Scudetto thing?
I really think that the Scudetto race is not over, and I really think it won't be over until the last match day. Given the conditions that the players are playing in, it's very hot. It's summer now. Players have to deal with rotation because they're playing every 3 days. So you're trying to avoid injuries and whatnot. Yeah. And then you also have to think about teams who have bounced back from this break. For example, Milan. Yeah. Milan before the break, they were up in the air. You were confused. Like, you didn't know what to expect. Milan after the break, they look like they know what they're doing and they're trying to make a statement. Same thing with Napoli. Napoli before the break were in shambles, and Gattuso has managed to fix it and bring them back to a Napoli side that wants to compete, and they won the Coppa Italia.
Yeah.
Lazio's run-in is relatively softer.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I give them a chance.
You know what the other thing is for all those people who are saying this race is over, Juve still have to play Atalanta and Lazio. That's right. 6 gap possible that could get closed down really quick. So that's the reason why we're not going to say it's over, because anything can happen. We see what Atalanta can score on anybody apparently.
They both get Milan. Juve also finishes at home against Roma, and Lazio finishes against Napoli. So it's interesting that on their last match days, they each have a tricky opponent to play.
Yeah.
But I think I looked at Lazio's running and I saw Brescia, I saw Lecce, I saw some of the teams at the bottom. They both have to play Sassuolo yet, who are a charity right now defensively. Fun part is they can score a lot of goals too, so they get interesting. I've been telling friends now. I said, look, if you don't have a dog in the hunt and you want to watch, I mean, you can watch Atalanta, but I'm telling you, you might not know who they are. You might not be able to point it out on a map, but watch a Sassuolo game.
Yeah.
You're going to be entertained.
They average 4 goals a game.
They're fun bad. They give up
bad
too, but
that's crazy.
There are fun bad team. They're so bad, but they're so fun.
Plus they got the fourth sub. They're really fun to watch. And it's there's very few teams that have a front three as good as they do. Obviously Atalanta and a couple of the big time clubs, but they're fun to watch. And the passing that De Zerbi has, the game, the style that De Zerbi has in playing is just it's hard not to watch them.
Lazio has to win that game at Juventus.
Has to.
Because what you're looking at right now is it's a 4-point gap, and there's 9 games left, and you have to figure. And Lazio does have an easier run in, but they have to be 5 points better than Juve from here on out. I don't know how they do that without beating them at the J.
They can't. In my opinion, they can't drop points here on out.
Right.
And have to hope that Juve drop not only to them but also to Atalanta and maybe somebody else. Who knows? But they can't afford any more mistakes. That Atalanta game that they blew could haunt them the Scudetto at the end.
I think we have a race, but I think it's awfully hard for Lazio to overcome that gap.
Yeah.
With so few games. But then to Miguel's point which is excellent. We're playing in much different conditions now. There's rotations. There's teams playing every 3 days. There's just different set of circumstances in a much different environment than what we are normally accustomed to dealing with. So. So yeah. Chat, what do you think? Do we still have a title race? Those of you listening, go to @Serie Sitdown on Twitter or Instagram. Is the title race still on? Can Lazio close this gap, or is Juventus going to lift this trophy for a 9th straight time? Mr. Bob Lex is chiming in saying can't see Lazio doing it, unfortunately. So it's going to be a tough ask, that's for sure. So, but that is what happened today with the title contenders to kick off match week 29. Let's do a rewind back to match week 28. We got a lot of goals to cover, guys.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
All right. And I got writer's cramp writing down all the scores and goal scores. So the action kicked off on Friday. Juventus was playing host to Lecce, and a Lucioni red card in the first half set the tone for the second half. Lecce trying to play out of the back with 10 men, did so irresponsibly. It fell nicely to Ronaldo. Ronaldo plays it to Dybala. Dybala scores 1-0. Penaldo shows up, scores in the 62nd minute to make it 2-0 to Juve. Gonzalo Higuain coming on as a substitute. Great moment for him to score in the 83rd minute, all he's going through off the pitch. And Matthias de Ligt in the 85th. Wrapping it up for the old lady. I'm going to get through the scores, and we'll talk about all of them after here, guys. Brescia hosting Genoa. A bit of a relegation 6-pointer, although we think Brescia's down. But they weren't going down without a fight. Donnarumma scoring in the 10th minute, followed by a goal by Semprini in the 13th minute. Genoa would claw back on a couple of penalties. Iago Falque in the 38th and Andrea Pinamonti in the 70th. The game that was on ESPN here in the States is the one that would probably catch your attention on Saturday. Cagliari 4, Torino 2, Nahitan Nandez with a goal of the week candidate in the 12th minute. Giovanni Simeone in the 17th that it was originally not called. They went to VAR and reviewed it. You guys saw that goal. I think they got it. I think VAR got that one right. Did you?
Yeah, they got it right.
Okay. That put Cagliari ahead 2-0. They'd make it 3-0 just after halftime. The Ninja getting on the board, Raja Nainggolan, in the 46th minute. Torino would pull a couple back, first through Bremer off of a set piece in the 60th minute, and then Andrea Bellotti with a goal of the week candidate in the 65th. A João Pedro penalty just 4 minutes after that would put this out of reach. Finally, on Saturday, it was Lazio 2, Fiorentina 1. Frank Ribéry, goal of the week candidate. Ribéry was excellent in this game. Pity they had to take him out. 25th minute, and that put Fiorentina ahead until the 67th minute, where an incident where Felipe Caicedo is brought down in the penalty area by the goalkeeper, Dubravsky, apparently that giving Lazio a penalty. Immobile would convert that and score. That would be his 28th goal. We already talked about his 29th. 1-1. Quick sidebar, gentlemen. A lot of back and forth about whether or not that was a penalty. I thought it was, actually. I thought there was just enough contact from Dragowski to give that. What did you guys think?
Well, for me, it was difficult. Caicedo's my boy, so I'm going to usually trust him anything he does. Mm-hmm. And I did when I initially saw it live. I said, oh, that's a penalty there, no doubt about it. I started watching replays, and the more I watched the replays, the more I said, you know what? I don't think Dragowski – I think they ran into each other. I think Dragowski pulled his leg back, and there was contact as you would get in football, and I didn't think it was deserving of a penalty. Initially, like I said, I thought it was, but once I saw the replays over and over again, I got convinced that I thought it was a bad penalty, and definitely fortunate for Lazio.
Okay, Miguel?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Richard. I thought that it was a penalty initially, and again, started watching the replays. And yeah, you can see like there's contact, but it also seems like Caicedo also goes down to the floor a little too easily. Yeah. So it does look like it's not a penalty, but the penalty was given, and Lazio benefit from it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Luis Alberto would get the winner in the 82nd to give Lazio a key 2-1 win. Richard, you want to take the rest?
Yeah. We'll go to a game that's near and dear to all of us, at least all of us here on this podcast tonight. Milan hosting Roma. And it was a game that was always going to be a difficult game, a tight game. Two squads very similar in form and quality on the pitch. I thought before the game that based on Milan's form that they had a really good opportunity to win this game if they continue playing that way. But this game had all the makings of a draw, and it seemed like it was for the longest time that it was going to be like that. It went to halftime 0-0. Many wondered. Rebic is fairly quiet in the game. He had some opportunities here and there, but both squads really were canceling each other out. And it looked like I remember during the game on Twitter, we were talking back and forth, and it seemed like this two teams in a training session really, not really caring about anything. But Milan decided to wake up in the 74th minute. The man in form, 8 goals in the last 9 games now. Ante Rebic, he scores a goal, gives Milan the lead, and that was the lead that they would not relinquish. Hakan Çalhanoğlu in the 89th, I guess it was. He gets a penalty to make it 2-0, but really it was Ante Rebic getting a goal, getting another goal for Milan. They get the win 2-0 at Roma. Big 3 points for them to catch up to Roma. Unfortunately for them, Napoli played against Spal. Napoli is a team that's ahead of Milan in the current standings for the fight for Europa League. And so early on, Dries Mertens gets a goal in the 4th minute, a beautiful chip shot over the keeper. But the referee blows his whistle, says offsides. They go to VAR, and I think VAR got it right once again. A good goal for Dries Mertens. They go up 1-0 there. And then in the 46th, in maybe 20 minutes later after that, the guy who's going to be at Napoli next season, Andrea Petagna, he equalizes, makes it 1-1. He gets a nice pass, and I don't remember who gave him the assist, but beautiful pass to him, and he caught it in stride. Low corner, past Meret. Made it 1-1. Made it interesting. Went to halftime by that score.
They have great pies in Napoli.
That's why I say he was motivated. He was motivated, Frank. Coming out of the half, Callejon gets a goal really early in the 46th minute, makes it 2-1 then. And then to cap things off, Amin Younes, shortly after getting subbed on, he gets the goal in the 76th minute or so, makes it 3-1, a very good victory for Napoli. Napoli inch closer to Roma and continue their gap between them and Milan in that fight for the last European spot. They're actually aiming for the fifth spot at this moment, but 3-1 for Napoli. Moving on to Sampdoria and Bologna. This game was very low scoring for the most part of the game. 70 minutes of the game, there was no goals, but we got a penalty by Musabaro in the 72nd minute, getting the goal, making it 1-0. A couple minutes later, Orsolini follows it up with a goal, make it 2-0. Sampdoria would peg one back through Bonazzoli. A 2-1 final there for Bologna. Another game of the weekend. It always seems to involve these two clubs, especially Sassuolo as of late. Miguel mentioned that they score 4 goals a game. They came pretty close in this one.
They went over it.
Well, no, over combined, yes. Combined, yes.
Yeah, combined.
Combined over, yes. Scoring started in the 51st minute. Lazovic gets the goal, followed it up by Jeremy Boga. He got once, not twice. He was scoring in the 77th minute, but in between his 2 goals, Stepinski would get a goal, as well as Pessina. Just when it looked like Sassuolo was maybe going to lose this one to Hellas Verona, a good Hellas Verona squad, they would get one late through Bogerio, make it 3-3. Sassuolo can score. I mean, Hellas is one of those teams that has strong defense, but man, Sassuolo is they can find goals now, and it's so fun to watch. Another team that's fun to watch though is Atalanta. They would host Udinese. It seemed like a pretty cut and dry game. However, Udinese decided to play in this one. Zapata scored a goal early in the game, a nice goal, making 1-0. But Kevin Lasagna showed up, a rare Kevin Lasagna sighting this season. He scored the 21st minute, make it 1-1. Luis Muriel, he gets a fantastic free kick goal in the 71st minute, make it 2-1. Minutes later, he followed it up with another sensational long-range goal, making it 3-1. Lasagna would get a consolation goal, another one to make it 3-2, but Atalanta come away with victors once again. And then a big matchup, a game I thought was going to be a trap matchup. I told Old Endristi that I said, don't look ahead to Atalanta, who's next week. Parma is a good squad, and Parma gave it to him early on. Gervinho, who abused Candreva all game long, he got a goal early in the 15th minute. Parma had the lead for the longest amount of time. It wasn't until late Inter struggled to get any kind of good opportunities in this game, but in the 84th minute, De Vrij off a header. It was a header to a header. Latura off the corner, heads it to De Vrij. De Vrij heads it back into the net, makes it 1-1. And then the defense continued to hurt Parma late in the game. Great play by Moses. One-on-one with the defender. He gets a looping pass over the top to a wide-open Bastoni. I mean, no one within 10 feet of him, including the goalie. Easy back-up goal for Bastoni. 2-1 Inter win. That would wrap up all the games of the weekend.
Yeah, gosh, that Bastoni goal was just so stupid.
It was.
I mean, it was, and I'm not doing this to hate Inter. Bob Leck's goals of plenty. Yeah, very much so. Okay, so Moses has the ball kind of in the corner of the penalty area. There's 2 Parma players there. And for whatever reason, they both drop off and give him room to cross. And then what's worse, nobody picks up Bastoni on the back end. I mean, it was just neglected defending on the part of Parma. Just in that space of those 4 minutes, and it had nothing to do with Kucha getting the red card and being down to 10 men. You still had the numbers back there.
Yeah.
You got to organize it and sort it out. It was just a shame to see that happen because I thought up until then, I thought Parma carried out their game plan perfectly. I thought, I anticipated. Yeah, absolutely. I anticipated Gervinho was going to go nuts in this game because with Skriniar out of there, you're trying to figure it out with the back 3. You're going to play Candreva at wing back instead of somebody who might be a little bit more sturdy defensively. I was like, this is just screaming for Gervinho to do something crazy, and it happened. And then the counterattacking after that, I mean, there were some chances. Kulishevsky nearly made it 2. Right. And I thought he was very good again. And then Gervinho just got tired legs and had to be withdrawn. And then Parma self-destructed, and I think Inter stole 3 points here, guys.
I agree. Definitely agree. If you watch the first half, absolutely from the first minutes to like about the 70th minute, Parma was absolutely in control of this game. You saw how Gervinho and Kulusevski were both just terrorizing Inter's defense. Gervinho with the pace, Kulusevski was just literally a steamroller through like Inter.
Yeah.
Creds to Barella. Barella really did try his best to control Kulusevski as best as he can, but in the end, I feel like Parma got tired and they just shut off the defensive instinct because they had that goal lead on them, and they thought that okay, there's only 10 minutes left, we can just hang it off. Tensions grew, and then Kuchka got sent off, and I feel like that really, discombobulated the system that they had, and they just completely lost themselves and self-destructed.
And he's one of the leaders on the team too. So having one of your leaders go off the pitch like that, I can see how it can disorient the whole team and cause them to implode like they did. But the way they imploded, Frank, it was just mind-boggling to leave Bastoni that wide open, to allow the smallest man on the pitch to get a header off a corner kick, and then De Vrij is going to put it away when he gets that opportunity. But it was just not pretty by Parma at the end, and Inter get away with one. They do.
And it's a case of and here's the other thing. In the case of Parma, where the hell do they find these guys? Castro DeMarco. I mean, that guy was good. I mean, he was solid. He had things solid back there. And he got a yellow. Diversa takes him out in the 77th minute because he's on a yellow. And it just might be a fear playing in. And they bring in this Vasco Regini, who I've never heard of. But, I mean, if you've got a guy that's got things under control back there and he doesn't have Lukaku in his back pocket or Lautaro in his back pocket or anything like that, but he keeps him in front of him and doesn't let him have anything easy throughout the entire match, and he's on a yellow. I'd rather stick with the hot hand and hope he doesn't get a second yellow than bring in somebody else totally cold that has to work his way into the game and deal with Lautaro and Lukaku. I thought that was another tactical flaw on the part of Diversa, in my opinion. And this kid came in here. I'm assuming he's a kid. I thought he was outstanding back there. I thought he was solid.
You would have thought that he would have been. You should have given him faith enough that he would have been professional enough that once he picked up the yellow, he would be smart enough not to back off a little bit and not get that yellow. Now, if he was playing reckless and out of control and begging for that second yellow, then I see you take him off. But if he's doing fine and he's doing a great job, leave him in there. Yeah. Unless he is injured or something like that, or begging for a second yellow, there's no reason you should take him out.
I think it was only his 10th appearance with Parma since joining. He came on a free last year, and I can't remember where exactly he came from. But, why take out a guy who has been able to keep it all together for your – and then what happens? Set piece, he's not in the game. Got guys out of the game that were kind of helping in that area. They score. And then just, Kuchka says something about the referee's mother and gets sent off. And then 3 minutes later, they score again. I mean, this was all self-destruction. And I think Diversa has as much responsibility for this as anybody on the pitch. So that's where I would take that. Napoli, they're winning. I mean, it's not Saudi ball anymore, but now they're winning things. As we said last week, winning the Coppa Italia.
Confidence.
Yeah.
It's oozing out of them.
They're playing with a ton of confidence, and Gattuso has this the way he wants it now, too. Thoughts on Napoli, Miguel?
I think Napoli, they really have made the turnaround this season. I think that little mutiny that was going on was really harming the way that they played. They weren't a cohesive unit. They were playing their own game. They wanted to play to make themselves look as best as they can. But at the end of the day, when you look at soccer, it's a team sport. Everybody has to hold everybody accountable. You got to defend, and the strikers have to score. Keepers have to make saves. You have to be cautious and not get a red card, And I think bringing in Gattuso brought that stability to them. Gattuso came in and was like, hey, you're going to work under my system. You're going to work the way that I want you to work, or you're not going to play.
That's right.
And some of these players, they think they're superstars, and they think that, because they play for Napoli and they have these huge contracts, like they're not excused. But Gattuso came in like a judge, and he's been pounding the gavel, and he's like, hey, if you don't work hard in training, you don't want to respect me, you don't want to do what I'm asking you to do, you're not going to play. And now I feel like the players have that fear in them that, hey, if I don't do my job, the boss isn't going to let me play, and I don't want that. So now they're working as a cohesive unit. You saw that they won Coppa Italia. You see that they're winning games, and you can see that they have this winning mentality and confidence brimming in them now.
Yep. There's something about Gattuso that he emits that that discipline and fear in you, because you're not going to talk back. One, there's never going to be a mutiny against Gattuso because he'd probably kill them all before that ever happened.
Very true.
Yeah, but he probably sits in that locker room and says, "You guys are shit. I've played with and played against guys 10 times better than you guys. You can't hold their jocks. You guys are nothing. You listen to what I say. If you want to win, listen to what I say. We'll play. We'll get through this. I'll get you where you need to go." I mean, the guys would have to respect him because, you do not mess with Gattuso. I'm sorry.
No, you don't.
It shows. The team is disciplined. They're playing awesome now. This is fantastic that, the Napoli won the Coppa Italia, and now they're playing so well, and they're surging up the table now.
Yep. Very much agree. Let's talk about our team.
Why not?
We waited long enough. We tried to make sure that this wasn't slanted toward the red and black. I thought this was, this is exactly, you know what? Do we have Chiara on loan?
We need to sign
him.
And if
we have the obligation to buy.
Just fucking buy him already.
Yeah.
Because that is the perfect, he has shown that he is the ideal perfect partner to Romagnoli in that center of that defense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even with a bum knee. Got it done out there.
Or a bum right back.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely crazy.
Yeah. So for me, it's, and we'll talk about it because our guest is a Milan supporter, so we want to make sure that we give them the coverage, beyond what Richard and I give them week after week. But we would talk about some of these other options. Musacchio, he's not available for the rest of the season anyway, but he's a bull in a china shop. He's a card waiting to happen. The right back position is not sorted out, and lots of talk about Denzel Dumfries coming over from PSV. He's been linked on multiple occasions as being the guy that could possibly come in and step in. I'd like to see it, but I think that, like anybody coming over from another league, there's going to be an adaptation period. People shouldn't expect immediate success right off the bat. It's few and far between when it happens with transfers coming in from other leagues, especially the Eredivisie, which is a whole totally different style of football being played out there. We're getting a lot of goals now in Serie, okay, but there's still a lot of the old world tactics being played, and there's still a lot of the tactical rigidity. It just so happens more goals are being scored. And I think that there's a combination of that. One, you got teams that are playing more attacking football like your Lazios, Atalantas, and Sassuolos. Two, you've got some pretty bad teams toward the bottom half who are going to concede a lot of goals. So it's just the way I think that the combination of those things have led are a part of why we see more goals in Serie A than we did 20 years ago. But all that said, I think there's still an adaptation period when I talk about somebody like Dumfries. But is it an obvious thing right now that right back is a position that does need to be addressed? Or do we play devil's advocate and say, hey, Andrea Conti's kind of getting there. Give him more games and let's see what happens. I'm kind of on the fence with that one.
Miguel, I'll let you have it.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think I'm 50-50 on it. It seems like Andrea Conti never really got a chance. He got his chance and he got injured. He got his chance again, then he got injured again. And it seems like this season he showed glimpses in games where he's like, yo, this guy's really solid. Like, we see why we paid for him.
Yep.
But then he's inconsistent because he hasn't really had so much playing time.
Right.
And then you think about Davide Calabria, who did really well last season. And this season, he's like not showing up. He's making mistakes. He's getting the short end of the stick, conceding all these penalties. And don't get me wrong, they both conceded. I think they both conceded equal amount of penalties this season. But you can see that when Conte is really alert and aware and he's doing everything correctly, that he is a bit better than Calabria. So I don't know, especially with how management is going on. We know that Pioli is not going to stay. So we don't know if Ragnick is going to be like, yeah, I'll give Conte a chance, or he wants, Dumfries to come in and change the whole system.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat too. And the one thing that needs to happen is somebody get Conte a snack or something to eat, man. He is too small. He needs to bulk up. I mean, put him in the weight room or something. I think that will solve a lot of issues. But I think I'm agree with you guys. I think Conte, let him stay in there. He's starting to get more game time in them. I think he brings more offensively right now than Calabria does. He's had some really nice assists lately, especially that one against the one to Rafael Leao recently. So
against Lecce.
Yeah, he's playing a lot better. And I think, you got the back four outside of, the goalie locked up, right? Assuming you're going to sell him. Kiar, Romagnoli, awesome partnership right now. Teo Hernandez, it goes without saying, he's locked up there. So, Conte's starting to get it now. I think, with the rumors that Benacer may go to like a Man City or something, maybe focus on the midfield or maybe the attacking. Rebic is not a striker. He's really a second striker or coming off the wing. Right now he's doing nicely in place of Ibra, but that's not a place that he's comfortable with, I think. And if you maybe get a striker and or someone in the midfield to partner with Kessie, because Kessie's playing really well right now. He had that great side volley that led to the Rebic goal. So maybe that's where you should focus and give Conte a little bit more time, or maybe bring someone from the youth. But Conte is, I think, starting to earn it, and he's got 3-4 rocks back there in the defense with him that could maybe help clean up some of the messes he has, and hopefully he can keep out of the penalty mistakes that he's had that Miguel talked about.
It brings me to the midfield then, since you kind of alluded to it by talking about Kessie. We were talking about Ismael Benacer and Frank Kessie. On the one, a couple of weeks ago, I heard people like PSG and Manchester City be willing to come in and offer $50 million for Ismael Benacer, and at the time I said, you know what? As much as I like Benacer and as much as I like him, how he's grown into this team, $50 million is a lot of jack, and you can do some pretty good things with that. And I'd be ready to, I'd go, but I'm ready to see those. I'd like to see a little more money out of that transfer fee if you want to prize him from Milan. I think that right now you have got a very nasty double pivot in front of that back four between Benacer and Kessie. I think they complement each other perfectly.
Yeah, they understand each other so well right now.
And I think that a lot of this is because, and we have said this multiple times before we went into the break, I think in terms of Frank Kessie, I think that what Pioli has done an excellent job of with him, he has simplified Kessie's role. When he was in Gattuso's 4-3-3, he was asked to do a lot. He was not only box to box, he was asked to get into the penalty area and be part of the attack and finish and things like that. And a lot that was putting a lot on his plate. Now it's simplified for him, where under Pioli, he's the ball winner in the midfield. He's doing some dirty work, and he's just passing it off to some of the other guys who can be the playmakers. Dare I say, a poor man's Gattuso, because that's what Gattuso did when he was in Milan in the heyday. He tackled, won the ball, and gave it to Pirlo, gave it to Seedorf, gave it to Cafu, gave it to Kaká, and said, "Here, you do something with it." Kessie is not being asked to overcomplicate things anymore, and things have gotten simplified. Benacer is a technician. He can be a ball winner. He can be a little bit reckless. I think his tackling has gotten a lot better. I've seen a lot of guys on Milan Twitter, Martino and Michael, who have been in the chat, have all alluded to it, saying his tackling has gotten much better. Yeah. But he also can pick the pass too, and help the team keep the ball and play with some composure. So I think that this is the double pivot, and I want to retract what I said about the $50 million for Benacer.
Yeah, I agree. I think when the reports of the 50 million bids were coming in, I was like, yeah, 50 million would be sweet. It'd be double what we paid for him. But you really think about it, this is Benacer's first season with Milan. And if you look at the progress he's made from when he first started at Milan to now, he's made such a huge impact and such a huge difference that if you were to sell him right now, you'd be selling him and you don't know his full potential,
Yep.
So it wouldn't 50 million would be nice right now, but it wouldn't be his worth. Like his future worth is probably more than that. So why sell him now?
Sure. I definitely agree with that.
And Frank, to your point about simplifying things for Kessie, I think the same thing could be said about Romagnoli. He had too much on his plate as well, not only being captain, but trying to do everything in the defense. You bring in Simon Kjaer, and he just all of a sudden he takes all the pressure away from Romagnoli. He can just focus on what he has to do, and he's played so much better. This is the best we've seen Romagnoli play in a long time, and obviously it helped to have a competent partner. But I think bringing in Kjaer has also helped simplify Romagnoli's game. So I think both Romagnoli and Kessie have benefited by simplifying their games and not trying to do too much. Just let what got them there, continue to work and benefit the team. Those two players have benefited the most, I think, under Pioli this season for sure.
Sure. I want to discuss 3 players now from Milan, and I want to get you can answer my question and then just give me your opinions about him. I'll start with Hakan Çalhanoğlu, who has now had 2 good games. And this is a guy that could, especially with the Milan Twitter, undergo a hell of a lot of scrutiny. So I'll ask about that. Let me get to the 3 players. But in terms of Hakan Çalhanoğlu, what I want you to answer for me is, has he turned it around? Do you have a little more faith in him, or are you waiting for the other shoe to drop with him? Jack Bonaventura, who it sounds like they're not going to renew him after this season. Is it time to just say, okay, hey, it's been great, but we've got this Brazilian kid. We need to give him a run out, Paquetá. And then finally, Alexis Salamakers, because this was his best performance in a Milan shirt, and some of the stuff I saw from him at Anderlecht led me to believe that he could be this good. So let's take on these 3 guys. I'll give you my thoughts on all 3 of them after I hear from you guys. And Richard, you go first. Çalhanoğlu, Bonaventura, Salamakers.
I was always on the up on Çalhanoğlu. I mean, he's had some bad games. He has, and I think he has gotten better. This last game, he was the most active and caused the most disruption to the Roma defense. I thought in the game overall. He has played very consistently, and I'm not waiting for the shoe to drop. I think he has turned it around. It helps that the team is playing better, right? Once the team starts playing better, everyone's going to start playing better, and I think that's what's going to happen with the Çalhanoğlu. Hopefully, get some more accuracy on his set piece abilities, but he's causing chaos with his shots. He's doing the right thing. He's working hard, putting the balls on target this time instead of shooting them wide or over. So I think that's going a long way. No, I'm drawing a brain fart. Who are the other 2 players again? Salamakers. Well,
Bonaventura and Salamakers.
Well, I'll go to Salamakers first. Salamakers, I thought this is definitely his best game by far. And I don't know if you guys noticed it, but there's a relationship between him and Çalhanoğlu that's a really there's like a friendship there, like a bromance there. And they're finding each other on the pitch, and they're really working well together. And I think that's going to only benefit and not only get his confidence up, but also benefit Salamakers and get an opportunity to play more on the pitch and do some good things for Milan, get some good assists. He looked very, very good in this game. And then Bonaventura, I've been screaming for Paquetá for the longest time. He's been very inconsistent. He's caused a lot of turnovers and not doing very well, but I think he still needs that opportunity. Bonaventura, as much as we love him, he's been a stalwart. He's been the one guy we could depend on during the banter era. Maybe his eyes are set with Atalanta, wherever his move is next, and he's getting older now. I mean, he still can he can still do the job for a few minutes of the game, come on as a sub, but for a full 90 or getting him on for 75, I don't know if he has it. And I think it's the opportunity to get Paquetá a run. He did. I thought Paquetá had a decent game. Him and Salamakers coming in there did some good things. They had opportunities for shots. Maybe the shot selection or the shots that Paquetá is getting could do better, right? The one shot he had with his right foot, while it was close on the keeper, he could have done a lot better. I thought it could have been a much harder shot, but overall, give him a chance. So I'm things are looking up with Milan, especially the way the team is playing now. Those 3 guys, I think, can benefit a lot.
Okay, Miguel.
Yeah, as to Çalhanoğlu, I remember him at Hannover 96. I remember him at Bayer Leverkusen. He really showed his quality as an attacking midfielder. And that's why when Hakan came to Milan fans were a bit excited because they knew what he was capable of. They know he's capable of picking out people on the attack and creating opportunities. They know he's good at set pieces. You know, he was just a well-rounded midfielder. And when he came to Milan, we didn't see any of that. We saw the poor side of him. We saw him miss sitters, poor crosses. It looked like he didn't really know what he was doing. But the last 2 games, he's been really shining. And I hope that it's not just a phase where it's just 2 games, but I really hope that he continues like this. I feel like with him, the problem was lack of confidence. Think about it. He came in and he was under a coach. The coach got fired. Another coach comes in. Coach brings a little bit of stability. And then coach gets fired again. And then the summer, Gianpaolo comes in. Everybody's terrible. Don't get me wrong, Hakan did score a couple of goals for us during that period. Mm-hmm. But the team was just not functioning. Everybody was not playing their best. And I think that now that Pioli has come in and brought in that stability, he's really brought out, the best qualities in each of these players. So I'm really hoping that Hakan can continue what he's doing. As for Bonaventura, again, Bonaventura has been a loyal servant of Milan. You can tell that whenever he did step on the pitch, it was blood, sweat, and tears for the badge. He's been unlucky with injuries. He got injuries during his prime time, and he missed out on that. So he does deserve a chance. He does deserve the playing time and the starts that he's getting. But we got to call a spade a spade. At this point, it's not good enough. And especially in the position that we are in the table, we're sitting in 7th. We're trying to climb up the table. Maybe we can overtake Roma. Maybe we can overtake Napoli. So having that one player who is lacking the quality that you need to win games, it can come back and bite us. And we all love Bonaventura. We wish him the best. And I feel like that's also part of the reason why Milan are not renewing his contract. They're like, hey, you've been a great service for the past couple of years, but you're injury prone. You're not in the shape that you were when we first bought you. And we're really trying to turn things around because we're tired of being a banter team. We're tired of being non-top 4 in Serie A. As for Salamakers, I think that when he came in originally, he wasn't given a chance. But I also feel like Pioli was like, we're going to toy with you in training and practice sessions. And when it's your time to shine, it's your time to shine. And I think that's what happened against Roma. He came on in the 56th minute, got his playing time. You saw him putting in crosses. You saw him using his pace down the wings. Yeah. And that is exactly what we need. And now you think about it, it's like, okay, we have Salamakers. He can come in and replace Castillejo, who's been doing a great job. Absolutely. So I think Salamakers really can make an impact, and if he stays, it'll be good. As to Richard said, it does look like him and Çalhanoğlu have a bromance. Yep. If you saw after Çalhanoğlu scored, he did hug Salamakers, and they exchanged some words. So it looks good.
Yep. My takes on all of these, Çalhanoğlu, I am waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm sorry, guys, because I've seen it so many times. I've seen him let me down so many times. I mean, he's got an abundance of talent, but the dud could come at a very awful time. And if when it comes to finally possibly getting to that point where 6 could be realized, and we're depending on him to come through and pull the strings for us, and he doesn't do it, and I'm envisioning that, and it worries me. But I'm encouraged by what I have seen in the last couple of games, no doubt about it. Bonaventura, I think it's time to have the toy taken away from him. I mean, you're not renewing him at the end of the season. I think it's time for Paquetá. I mean, I think if you really want to get saucy, you can play Leao further up with Rebic. And get into a 4-4-2. But, and this is probably going to be the most polarizing guy when it comes to Milan Twitter, I think, because he's so adored. And he worked very hard for this team during a very difficult period. And that he's not going to be around to maybe see a new project and see the ascendancy. But I mean, at the same time, he's into his 30s now. How much longer do you want to keep him around? And does he want to continue to? Does he want to stay around to just be a fringe player too? So I think it's time for more of Paquetá. And as for Salamakers, this is a guy that I was very encouraged by from, the time that they made the decision to bring him over from Anderlecht. I didn't know anything about him. I started taking in some clips of him and said, the kid could be useful. And I think that this was the game here against Roma where he came on in his cameo where he finally made use of his talents. He doesn't have a deceptive first touch, but he knows how to create space for himself with the ball and get away from defenders to be able to take the next step. And I think he does that extremely well. And then he can set a cross, he can set a shot, he can set a pass, and things like that. I think that he reads things, he can read defenders, relatively well. I'm not saying that he's, Xavi 2.0 or anybody like that. Don't get me wrong, but he's got some instincts that if the rest of his game can pick up, we might have something pretty damn promising in the form of this kid. So, so we'll have to see. Finally, Gazidis. I like the direction this is going. Fired Boban. Boban kind of did that to himself.
Yeah.
Maldini is not going to stay after this is all done. Which that we have to probably stop tugging at our heartstrings on this and realize that this is a business. Okay, the club needs to be run. Okay, and while it would have been great to have somebody from the past, an iconic name like Maldini, in some role helping see Milan get its resurgence, if that's not going to get us there, then those are the decisions that just have to be made. And I had this when I had Phil Shane on here. We had Phil Shane on here a couple of months ago. We had that conversation. We said Gazidis is a CEO. He's had the experience with his time at Arsenal. He is a backroom guy that'll know how to get this put together. And I like the moves that he's making to get this team, whether it's ready for Rangnick or at this point, it's not going to be a continuation of Pioli. But it seems like he is tailoring this team. He's not necessarily watering it down. What happened before Young Hung Lee took over, you saw Berlusconi and Galliani water Milan down.
Oh, yeah.
And Montella dragged that team to sixth. One of the best coaching jobs I've ever seen. Because that team had no business finishing sixth. But to get into the Europa League, this is not a watering down that Gazidis is doing, but this is a weeding out to try to create something that Rangnick can take and move forward with. That's what I at least is seeing. Milan Weekly Pod, and I believe that's Steve saying Rag as the D's, Maldini DT, and Pioli as coach is what we will see. So Rangnick is the director. Is that what you're trying to say, Steve? I'm assuming it's Steve.
I think it would be that's a difficult decision for me because especially Pioli, gets them into Europa League. He's done a fantastic job with with the whole squad, and then now you're going to bring in Rania to change it up. We've done that already with Gattuso, who was 1 point away from Champions League last season, and we got rid of him. That'll be another difficult transition, though it may be the right decision, right transition. Getting rid of Pioli now, while you're bringing in Rania, could have disastrous results, at least in the onset. But I don't know.
Maybe Pioli stays on as coach.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Keep Pioli. I think Rangnick's definitely a backroom guy. He's the guy who can develop the team. I don't like him as a manager, from what I've seen in the past. And Pioli would be just as good as Rangnick. He wouldn't be worse. So why not keep Pioli? He's actually got already a year under his belt. The team's already responding, obviously now. So keep him in there.
Yep.
Buy him some time till he gets the manager he wants.
Yeah.
But Miguel, the thing that concerns me about Pioli, and we have seen this, he's got a track record. Lazio gets him to the Champions League, and then the next season burns out. Inter gets him on a nice run. Next season burns out. Fiorentina goes through an awful situation with their captain Davide Astori passing away, guiding them through that and getting them to a respectable finish, and then the following season flames out. That is the thing that you have to worry about with Pioli. He only seems to get so far in these roles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a bit worrying when you do look at Pioli's past track record. He seems to know how to ignite a team for a season, and then it just goes into shambles. You think about how he did it with Lazio, got them to the Champions League and fired out. The Fiorentina situation was a lot different, a lot more complicated, and I think that he handled that excellently. Same thing with Milan, coming into Milan that was unmotivated. They didn't know what they were doing, and now they look motivated. They look hungry. They look like they know what they're doing. That's kind of the thing. You begin to wonder, will this continue if he does stay, or will it be like his other jobs where he has come in and it just goes into flames after that? So it's a bit worrying. You don't have any type of assurance with Pioli, but again, like, Milan always changes their coaches every season, and we're tired of that. I bet the players are tired of that too. They want some stability, and it seems like Pioli's giving them stability.
I will go on record and say that I was maybe one of two people that approved the Pioli appointment after Gianpaolo was sacked.
I can verify that.
Yep. I was one of the ones. Actually, I think I said it before he was even hired, and I said, I'm going to pull a name out of my ass here that this is on Twitter. Go back. You have to go back a long time. I'm going to pull a name out of my ass that might not be popular with anyone, but Stefano Pioli seems like somebody that could come in and do a pretty good job with this particular situation. So, you know, and he gets hired and everybody's angry and is like, well, I'm going to take my victory lap and I'm going to sit back and see if he can get this done, because I think that he can. So, and it's worked out. I'm just concerned about the flame out and when it's coming, you know, and or we might get lucky and this is where he hangs his hat and he ends up being a lot more successful than some of the other stops.
Yeah, it's tricky. You also got to feel for him. You know, the guy came in and everybody's like, Pioli out, and now everybody loves Pioli, and it's like,
that's trending the first day he signed. It's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And Steve saying from Katsidas, we need him to stay away from the football and develop a project for transfers to be attracted to. Yes. And I think to take it further, I think Katsidas has done a nice job. Like I said, Berlusconi and Galliani's final year, they watered it down.
Yeah.
And then Young Hung Lee took over and went on a transfer binge that he couldn't sustain. Yeah. And then in this case, Katsidas is coming in, and he's not watering it down, but he is definitely weeding things out. He's not going to renew Bonaventura. He's not going to renew Biglia. Rodriguez is gone, I think. You know, I think that he is erasing. Borini's already gone. So he's done a very nice job of erasing and correcting some of the mistakes from the transfer binges and making this team a little healthier and a little more balanced.
Yeah.
So, you know, so I like the work that he's doing. And if what Steve is saying, instead if it's Rangnick is director of sport, Maldini technical director, and Pioli coach, I'll take it.
I would too.
Yeah.
Take it in a heartbeat. So
definitely.
So Richard, a little bit more for those who haven't heard us, but because you have the familiarity on Bundesliga, Rangnick, what he would bring, you know, obviously very successful in his role with making RB Leipzig what they are today.
Yeah, he's a person. I won't say a player, a person who develops a team, and he believes very much in the youth and bringing them up through the team, and then, you know, eventually selling off those players, make money off of that, and continue rebuilding, or not rebuilding, but feeding back into the system to develop the youth team. I mean, all the teams, he's always invested in youth. That's what he does. He develops a team that's not only viable financially, but also on the pitch. They're going to be contenders for. They usually are contenders for Champions League spots, as we've seen in the last two stops he's been at. I think a role like this would be perfect. That, you know, don't let him be manager. Let him take care of the sporting side. Let Gazeta stay in the back, in the office side, the marketing side, and let, you know, Maldini be the director of talent. And yeah, I mean, that's probably the best way to do it, because I wouldn't want to see. I've seen Rangnick as a manager. He's just an average manager. There's nothing to write home about. Probably not as good as Pioli, like I said earlier, but keeping Pioli in there would be the best thing to do at the moment, and let Ranić continue working in the back room and making the squad healthy, like you said, Frank. I think this is what Ranić's going to bring in, and bring in some youth players again. I mean, there was a time when Milan would bring a lot of young players from all over the world. We haven't seen that lately. I think Ranić could do that, bring that back to our old glory days, I should say.
Any chance he can stow Nkunku in his luggage when he comes over to Milan?
It would be nice. I know he's trying to get Upamecano, who's actually a very good, very fast, he's a very well built defender from.
I would love that.
I would too. And there's a couple other names I heard too, that youngsters that are really good. I'm ecstatic about if it were to happen, but it's still a ways away. But yeah, the signs, I'm liking what I'm hearing so far, especially lately with the Pioli thing.
Danny Olmo, but I doubt that's ever going to happen. I mean, I think he just got there, which is a pain.
Yeah.
Miguel, Steve wants to know what you're drinking.
I am drinking good old H2O water.
No,
all right.
As am I. Look at that.
I'm the only one drinking beer. So, I'm in Milwaukee. I got to represent.
That is your water, right?
Yeah, it kind of is our water, to be honest. Sure. Good point here by Steve, and I want to touch on this. I'm afraid of Rangnick not having Serie A experience. We all know the culture is a very different animal with all the politics and friendships. There's that, but in how he constructs teams and how he attracts talent and what he wants, I think that he's going to have to do his homework on how Serie A is compared to Bundesliga. He built a team that is built to be successful in Bundesliga. Okay. Can he adapt? And I made these comments. I think I was talking with Lacey about this a while back. Can he adapt his approach to make it work for a team that needs to function and be successful in Serie A that is tactically very different from what you get in Bundesliga? So very good point.
And I think he could. I think especially if he's not the manager, he can focus more on that, and I think he can do that.
Excellent. Goals of the week, but let's stick with the ones from match week 28. I know that Juve scored 3 beauties today, but we'll save that for a match week 29 pod or something like that. So, Richard, what did you have from match week 28?
The 2 Muriel goals. I like those a lot. I'm trying to think of some. The Mertens chip shot. Trying to think what else was the ones that I really liked. The one for me, the goal of the week was Frank Ribéry. I mean, undressing the Lazio defense and then putting it in the back of the net. I mean, that's goal of the week for me.
Okay. I'm with you. The two Muriel goals, the Mertens chip, Nandez's goal to open it for Cagliari, and then I the Ribéry goal for me. So, Miguel,
I would have to say Nandez's goal. That was just beautiful. And then I'd have to go with Gervinho putting Candreva on skates.
Yeah.
That was a really good one. And I think I'm going to go with Luis Alberto's goal against Fiorentina. That just showed you the amount of emotion and passion that Lazio have for their team.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Awesome. Well, I think we'll put a bow on this edition of Serie A Sit Down, guys. And this is when we shameless plug. Miguel, we're going to start with you as our guest. Fire away with what you're working on and where our listeners can follow you.
Well, today I did upload my recap of Roma versus Milan. You can find me on YouTube at Milano Miguel. My Twitter is at MiguelAJ29. I'm also going to be working on posting articles for MLS Multiplex. When MLS starts up again, I'll be focused on Chicago Fire and LAFC. So look out for those articles on my Twitter, and that's what really I'm working on.
Richard, you're an awful lot happier these days because you don't have to worry about Schalke anymore. That's all done. I don't know if the David Wagner experience carries on after that calamity, but what else do you want to shamelessly plug?
I want to give a shout out to everyone's dear friend, Uncle Sharma. You can find him on Twitter. It is at RSHARMZZ. I was a guest on his YouTube today. We talked week 1 of the return of Calcio. We talked a little Inter and Brescia coming up this weekend. It's really good. Make sure you give him a follow on both YouTube and Twitter. It's a good follow. And then, you can find me pretty much anywhere, R_KHARMAN, and obviously our YouTube page.
Excellent. You can follow me at FTC_21. Serie Sit Down. We have our own channel on Apple Podcasts and SoundCloud. We can be found on Stitcher, Spotify, and now iHeartRadio, and everywhere else podcasts are played. You can find Serie Sit Down. You're on our YouTube page right now. If for those of you that are watching, please drop a like. Please subscribe. We'll continue to pump out more content. We'll extract clips from this podcast for little bits that we can throw at everybody here on the Twitter machine here throughout the week. So do check that out. We're also on Facebook. Check us out there. We're all over the place. What's that?
iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio. I already said that.
I know. Just gotta repeat it out there. So I was paying attention to
you're checking my work. We can talk about how you said. We can talk about you're checking my work. We can talk about how you said.
Cowboys. About
how you said Callejon scored in the 46th minute. He scored in the 36th. Let's see what else. You said that Atalanta was hosting Udinese. They were away. And you said that.
Big guns.
Christ, what else did you say? I wanted to call you out on this after the podcast, but since you wanted to,
If Serie is not for you, you can always watch Bundesliga.
Yeah. The next thing I want to hear from you. Well, if you don't like Serie A, and if you don't like Serie A, you can go to worldfootballindex.com. There's so many podcasts covering so many different leagues.
Please do.
After listening to us for over an hour and a half, you probably don't like Serie A anymore.
We have that effect on people.
So check out worldfootballindex.com. Plenty of other articles and content, podcasts, among other things for you to check out. So, Miguel, thanks a lot. Great job.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations on your first cap. I have a feeling that second cap won't be too far away.
Okay, I'll be down.
Excellent stuff. Richard, as always, it's a blast. Thank you. For Richard, I'm Frank. For Miguel, I'm Frank. And make sure you're telling your paisans about us. Ciao.